Folks, I'm gonna say something, and some of you may disagree with me over it. You're just going to have to accept that you're wrong about this on account of I will entertain no argument in this matter. It's actually good to make people uncomfortable. It's a good thing that you should be doing in your life. And the fact that you're obsessed with not doing it is probably why you're lonely and also the cause of various other issues that you have, specifically low self-esteem and social anxiety. Stop getting defensive. We both know you. I am in your walls. I am in them. You have been Kafka trapped. You are only digging your own hole. How many social interactions have you had, or, rather not had recently, that you felt an impulse to pursue but didn't just because you were worried that the person you wanted to interact with would feel uncomfortable? How many boundaries have you not asserted for yourself to avoid making someone else uncomfortable who was treading a little too close for your comfort? How many experiences have you avoided? How many opportunities thrown away just because you were afraid that someone involved might be uncomfortable? Including you, by the way. You are someone involved, in fact. Because in order to make others uncomfortable, you first need to be able to tolerate your own discomfort. If you're anything like the average sort of 18 to 24-year-old-ish roundabout Zoomer, it's probably quite a lot. You might not even be aware of how much you're missing out on compared to others your age in other periods of time. I know many say this, but we're in a particularly sensitive era, and it's not your fault. To a large extent. Not fully, not originally. You were dealt a bad hand, and I'm sympathetic to that. I know you kids were locked into your home at an age where my age cohort and most age cohorts before mine were getting shit-faced in bars and pubs full of people who thought we were unbelievably annoying. And what's worse, I never got the chance to be on the other side of that and find you unbelievably annoying without even a hint of self-awareness on my part, because I would have been convinced that I was never like that. I say you kids, you're fully grown adults capable of making your own choices and forming your own opinions. I'm not even really that much older than you. But I am condescending at you right now, so I stand behind this stylistic choice. There is a gap in your formative years where you've not been exposed to a lot of little weird and irritating things that are just gonna sort of happen around you if you exist. If you don't exist, this video might not be for you, but check out my Enchiridion of the Uncreated playlist for inverted advice on a diametrical topic. A smelly guy at the pub a few tables over who is just so loud that sometimes you can't hear your friends talking. Someone standing near you at a busy thoroughfare, but definitely not with you specifically, mumbling about cocaine just loud enough so you can hear. A mother breastfeeding a fussy baby on the bus. Youths racing down the street in a shopping cart. Some girl sitting on the front steps of an apartment building drunkenly shouting insults at random women while her friends sort of stand next to her, apologetically gritting her teeth. A foreign old man sitting on a plastic chair with some beer and a pipe, whose only facial expression seems to be a judgmental frown. Seeing someone getting thrown out of a club and yelling at the bouncer. An unexpected glimpse of an otherwise fully clothed couple having sex on a bench in some tucked away corner of the park. Someone lonely and enthusiastic just trying to talk to you when you're really not in the mood. Just these sort of objectively innocuous situations that by and large have nothing to do with you, where you would have been just not entirely comfortable. It would be a little uncomfortable. Not legitimately dangerous and terrifying moments, just the odd and the irregular, the basic manifestations of life and people being complicated in unexpected ways. You never got the opportunity to learn to be okay with having stuff like that happen around you. Coming out of the sheltered existence of childhood and adolescence to find out that those things are actually fine and you're not in any danger. And you didn't choose this. You didn't choose to have those formative years placed right in the middle of a global pandemic and recession that sort of, massively limited your opportunities to socialize in the real world and continues to do so. So many third places have died. So many others are dying. Normal stuff that others used to do to sort of like socialize or make experiences, like bars, concerts, cinemas, vacations even, have become unspeakably expensive. It wasn't yours or frankly any one person's decision that relegated the space for human connection to moderated and semi-self-curated virtual environments experienced through a screen, but experiencing the world through such a filter creates a false reality that brings everything right into the safety and comfort of your home, your space. When you're texting, you have time to consider your responses. When you are in a video call, the people you're talking to are not actually there. You don't even need to be seen by them or see them if you don't want to. The end call button is always just one click away. Nobody's going to check if the reason you left a call is actually because you had to go to the supermarket. Everything happens at your pace. I could go jack off between takes right now and you would have no idea, because I am interacting with you through a fiction that seems more authentic than it is. This whole video, all about it is scripted. I am reading words I wrote days ago off a teleprompter right now. I wish I was this witty and clever in real life. Whenever I fuck up a line, I can just go back and re-record it. I don't stutter because I don't have to. Well, sometimes I don't catch it because acting and directing yourself at the same time is difficult, but you know what I mean. I have power over like the curation of how you see me, and with how social media works, you curate how others see you as well. Algorithms are designed to show you stuff you want to see, even if it's stuff that makes you angry. Well, especially if it's stuff that makes you angry. It's gonna be the kind of stuff that you are comfortable getting angry with, because the act of doing so will reaffirm your political or social identity in some way. The media you consume never has to be mysterious. All the information you want about it is right online. Everything is tagged, cataloged, and inventoried to death, from film to fan fiction. You're thinking about watching a movie and want to find out whether the dog dies? There's a website where you can look that up. That exists. When you don't know someone, like obscure slang term that you're trying to impress someone on Discord on, and they're like throwing that at you, right? You can just look it up on Urban Dictionary. You never have to be out of the loop. There's a whole subreddit where people will explain shit to you that you've missed. It's so bizarre to me that I know at least a dozen people who will read the whole Wikipedia page of a film or show or book or game before they look at it, so they know everything that happens and are not surprised by something they didn't expect. There's days where it seems to me like the average tolerance for trying something that includes elements of the unknown has plummeted to 0. No one is opening DVDs to find the wrong disc in there and trying it anyway anymore. Nobody's opening shady RV files that have mostly numbers in the name. I think this sort of ability to almost completely block out anything and everything not right inside people's comfort zone has left this particular age cohort, and I'm not using the word generation for a reason here, bereft of the opportunity to struggle and grow comfortable with discomfort. People have become too used to controlling every aspect of their subjective experience, and it's taking a toll. And that subjective experience is mostly filled with, like, not authentic experiences, but stories, where everything that happens isn't just a random thing that happens, but a setup, a portent. When something uncomfortable happens in a story, it happens to inevitably set up something much more sinister shortly or longly down the line. I think the effect can be similar to people who live in small towns and only see the world filtered through media, who think cities are just these like lawless cyberpunk dystopias where roving gangs of immigrants are out to eat your liver. I wouldn't say the symptoms are exactly the same, but the disconnect from reality is similar. And no, I will actually not tolerate you sitting there telling me that mainlining 3 years of true crime podcasts with 0 life experience during a time when humanity was in a state of constant existential anxiety hasn't thrown off your heuristics somewhat. Discomfort has, as a cultural meme, become one of the worst things you can experience somehow. For such a small thing, it casts a huge shadow. It's almost equal to physical pain sometimes in terms of its social gravity, and we're so keenly aware of it that we try to avoid it as much as possible in ourselves and others. It's like every second where the wind bends your comfort zone a millimeter and you experience the slightest bit of discomfort is an immediate portent that a violent and terrible death is imminent. Which I'll refer you to my bit about stories earlier. It's very understandable considering that. But every rejection you could experience will not lead to a public flogging on the market square. People by and large don't care that you're being weird and unaware of social norms. And the ones who do care about that are considered meddlesome. It's none of their fucking business how you eat your cheese. And I am being hyperbolic for the sake of illustrating my point. Thank you for commenting that. The problem is that on the path of discovery, specifically and especially self-discovery, discomfort is the incline. If you do not grow comfortable battling it, you will never grow. And if you never grow, I mean, you can choose that, but your life is going to suck. I lost 2.5 years of my youth as well in the pandemic. COVID hit Europe a few weeks after my 25th birthday. I lost a slice of like prime life there that I'm never getting back. And the pandemic has screwed with my perception of reality as well. I think I'm way more socially anxious and jumpy, much more introverted and emotionally avoidant, certainly. But it's still different, you know? I'd seen some shit by that point. I mean, you know, most of my early 20s, to be fair, I spent viscerally depressed, which is, you know, that's what they're for. That's what your early 20s are for, is being depressed. But I had grown up early, so I had gathered some unusual experiences. I absolutely do recognize that you have it especially hard. But unfortunately, being an adult means that even though you have had a late start, it's still your job to catch up as much as you can. It's not your fault you have been left diminished in this. But the world is never going to shrink to that size, no matter how much you complain about it online. So you need to grow in order to loom large. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's bad that we now have tools that help us secure our comfort zone without completely isolating ourselves, or that we have tools to further our understanding always at our disposal. Some people are just very particular in that they don't want to see the dog die. That's fine. You take care of your mental health triggers. That's what content warnings are for. That's you being a responsible adult. Shit, it might even help you on your journey. But when you do that with too many things, you start throwing up walls around yourself that isolate you from life and all the people in it. Nor, by the way, do I think discomfort is a good or virtuous thing that you should always seek just for the sake of experiencing it. I know a lot of sort of masculinity coach type characters like discomfort to the point of actual pain and humiliation, but the real point of that is not to help you conquer your discomfort, but to break you mentally. But they'll drive you to the point of sort of physical and emotional exhaustion, and then it's like a setup for a bullshit scenario where you feel terrible, so they can, in the moment of desperate vulnerability, when your defenses are completely worn down, sell you on their hideous and frankly anti-you ideology. Discomfort sucks. It's natural to want to avoid it. A lot of the time, discomfort is there precisely to make you raise your head and pay attention in case something untoward is going on, even if 99% of the time everything is fine. I'm here from almost a position of privilege to have been given ample opportunity to conquer discomfort, to help raise you up, because, you know, that's what you're supposed to do when you have that sort of privilege. Opportunities for growth will barge into your life at the moment that is most convenient to them, not you. And you're gonna have to deal with this. I promise you'll be fine. You can actually handle this a lot better than you think. You'll be surprised. But if you want to take a more active hand in the process and do it in a way that is ironically more comfortable to you, I'd like you to think about the following. Imagine a sort of membrane around you, not immediately on your skin, but maybe like an arm's length away like this. And inside of this membrane, it's nice, it's cozy, it's warm, it smells good, you feel safe, and protected because the membrane contains your comfort zone. That's what the membrane is. And because it's a magical membrane, you can step in and out of it. You can just go, and you will probably have found that life forces you to do this sometimes, maybe even pushes or pulls you. It's a good idea to think about the things contained within the membrane, the things you feel good and comfortable with, because those are the things that will help you whenever you go back to them. You could make a list if you want to, if that's the kind of person you are, if that helps you, but thinking about it will also do the trick. Now, the thing about your membrane is that it oozes. There is a vibe. That sounds terrible. Maybe I shouldn't use. I'm using this analogy. There's like a vibe emanating from it, like on the outside. That's the vibe of your comfort zone. So if you step out of the membrane, yes, things will be different. They will be less comfortable than in the comfort zone. But a little bit of your comfort zone is going to be there with you to give you reassurance. And so you know that you can always sort of step back into it. Now, the really incredible thing about your membrane is that it grows. You don't need to be too careful even in how you make it grow. Sometimes a severe stumble can cause the membrane to instantly grow much larger than you ever thought it could go. But ideally, you want to gently push against it. Or even better, stand partly outside of it to motivate it to grow out further, to incorporate you. Because the membrane wants to grow to protect you. That's why it's there. There's things way out there, way over there, that are far outside the membrane, that might provide you huge discomfort, even though you know that some of them even you might want to be able to get to. You might want to be able to feel comfortable around there. You don't need to worry about those places right now. All you need to worry is the space right outside and around your comfort zone. Think about what might be outside the membrane. Maybe consider the uncomfortable places you want to walk around in with confidence, and think about just the tiniest slice of them, just a small aspect of them. Perhaps the one that's the most intriguing or least uncomfortable to you, that would be a good choice. That's what's right outside your membrane. That's what you need to try to expose yourself to ever so slightly. And once you've done that, every time you do it again, it'll be easier. Until eventually the membrane will have grown and the thing that once made you uncomfortable is now part of your comfort zone. Find a new thing, push on that, and before you know it, so many things you once thought unthinkable will be second nature to you, not providing discomfort in the least. And even when they do, you will have learned that you'll be fine. So you'll be fine. When I had moved into the apartment that I live in now, I've lived here for quite some time actually, I didn't expect that I would live here so long. For the first few years of living here, I never opened the blinds. This is where my windows are. Childhood trauma had left me very protective of my private space and very dedicated to ensuring no one could perceive me as I went about my day. I had an overwhelming need to be alone, and the blinds protected me against the judgment of the outside world, even though, you know, nobody's even out there, nobody's judging me. But after a while, this became very isolating as well. I was starved of sunlight, I was miserable and alone, even though I did have friends. I even had a girlfriend for a while. I just didn't feel comfortable in my own home, even though it was important to me to be comfortable there. And one day, I decided to open the blinds. I didn't even do it myself. I asked my partner at the time to do it, and she did. I decided this knowing that I could close them again at any time, right? That was me pushing against my membrane. I had a lot of caveats for it, but I tried. And it turned out that it was way easier than I thought. Ever since that day, the blinds are almost always open during daylight hours. I close them when it gets dark, and I open them in the morning. I like the daylight in my space now. I enjoy it. It makes me feel alive. I like looking outside, even though there's not that much to see even. Some days I keep them closed, but that's okay. They were just the first step on my road to recovery. It's fine if I like them closed sometimes. You have to identify your blinds and open them. It's just a little thing, just a tiny first step. And it's fine if you stumble, because you're stronger than you think. If you want to be out there socializing at parties, showing up at a bar, talking to people, the first step isn't showing up at a bar talking to people. The first step is putting on some clothes and leaving the house. And if you try and fail at those things, that's okay, because your trial and failure pushed against your membrane. In that sense, it was actually a success. You have done the work. It's fine if you're awkward and alone at the pub or bad at making conversation. I know you are worried people might think you weird, but most folks actually, they know that if you make them uncomfortable, you're doing that with no malicious intent at all. And yes, there are people who never want to be made uncomfortable by anyone for any reason, and they go places and expect everyone to be concerned entirely and exclusively with their own narrow boundaries, because they like to control things, that they like to violate other people's boundaries by asserting that they have a right to control them. And because of all the reasons touched on in this video, there's currently quite a lot of them. The simple truth is, those people are not worth talking to. They're all about themselves, because there's so little of that self. You cannot save them. They have to do that themselves as well. Most of the time, when anyone makes anyone uncomfortable, it's without a shred of malicious intent. That's how most uncomfortable situations happen. They're misunderstandings. Exposing yourself to them will hone your ability to spot when someone does have malicious intent, which some people absolutely do. And growing that comfort zone will give you the power to stand your ground against those people, because you won't be trapped by your own limits against them. Go to the bar, sit there alone, go home having talked to nobody. That can be a huge success. And look, I know sometimes it can feel as though defeating your own discomfort is somehow a betrayal of yourself. I know I felt like that once in a while. Like you've defined your identity by your limits, and moving those limits would be denying who you are. But frankly, that's you being unkind to yourself, talking yourself down as a person whose limits will always stop them, fortifying them as walls which trap you within yourself. I think you deserve to treat yourself better than that. I think you deserve to be the kind of person who one day looks at those old walls like modern cities do at the remnants of their medieval fortifications, with a certain degree of fondness for how quaint the world used to be, and pride at how far you have come. And one more thing, this membrane, from my metaphor, is extremely resilient, but it can be damaged and it can rip. This usually happens as a horrible force of trauma, like coming from the outside of the membrane. The unfortunate truth about that is that you have essentially no control over it. That's why trauma is so violating. It rips a hole in your membrane, and we get no say in this. No matter how much we want to make ourselves feel in control, thinking we can avoid it, we can't really. And it's not our fault when it happens. But given the chance, the membrane will regenerate even the largest wounds. It just needs some time and a place to draw energy from. And here, having a large membrane will help with that very much. The bigger surface area will allow it to draw more energy. Not to mention, the initial wound won't be as large relative to the membrane as it might have been if the membrane was smaller. And also, you have more space inside your membrane. So you're not forced to stay in the drafty part as it heals. You can just go over there. Over there, that's the place where you were uncomfortable earlier. In that healing process, it might contract a little. But that's okay. You know how to push it. You'll be just fine. Thank you very much for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe, share this to your relevant communities, and some of your friends and family that you think might need to hear this. I think there's quite a few of those people out there, and I wish them all the best. I know this is a short one, but I had time off, and I went on vacation to see my abuela even, and someone pointed out to me, and this was crazy, that when you have a vacation to shake off the stress you have in, like, your bones, and then work 3 times as much just around that vacation in order to make up for the vacation, it kind of undoes the relaxation of the vacation. And frankly, let's say, like, having a good work-life balance is not one of my talents. Also, additionally, my landlord used underhanded and deceptive tactics to force everyone in my building to switch to them as their ISP by making it so most other ISPs could no longer offer services here, and, like, telling no one. the whole house, and all houses of this landlord in this city very suddenly didn't have internet. And then the landlord had like a technician going around the house going, oh yeah, I can help you, but you'll need to sign this extra contract with your landlord so you can get his internet, because everyone else is, well, they can't really do it because we own the lines. Does this feel illegal? Absolutely. Did I have any recourse in that high pressure situation of suddenly being cut off from an essential utility I need for work? No. So I was without internet for a while. While I'm recording this, I am actually without internet. I'm going to be editing this without internet. That's going to be a bit of a hassle. But you know, in that spirit, you might think you are can'ts, but you actually can. So see you around, cans.